Have you noticed how everyone's becoming a pseudo-psychologist lately, throwing out phrases like trauma bonding and setting boundaries, along with toxic traits, or that's giving narcissist energy? We're drowning in psychological buzzwords people pick up from TikTok and throw around like they think they know what they mean. Honestly, it's making genuine connection a bit harder, not easier. The art of being straightforward and authentically engaged is quite rare these days, because even for people who want it, it's hard to gain rapport or sound sincere with the overused cliches. Let's unpack this. That's just your inner critic speaking. Tell me more about that. I hear what you're saying. Your feelings are valid. It's great you're so self aware, just to name a few. Today, I'm leaving out the buzzwords and trendy terms to show you how to keep it real, show you're truly interested in what's happening with people in your life without any of the cringe or psychobabble. By the end of this video, you'll understand what only the best therapists know about compassionate communication. And more importantly, you'll have the specific tools and a framework for incorporating them along with my guidance. So let's get into it. Professionally speaking, the most powerful therapeutic interventions aren't complex interpretations or brilliant insights. They're moments when someone feels completely seen and heard by another. That's what these techniques create. Learn how to make people feel safe opening up to you, help others process difficult emotions, resolve conflicts without anyone feeling attacked, and how to have conversations that actually strengthen relationships instead of damaging them. The best part? Once you master these skills, people will naturally gravitate towards you because you'll become someone who makes others feel better about themselves and their lives. Before we dive into specific techniques, let's lock in what makes therapeutic communication different from normal conversation. It's not about specific words. It's about creating the experience of psychological safety and genuine connection, starting with the therapeutic mindset, shifting from advice giving to understanding. Now, most people think helping means giving advice, solving problems, or sharing their own similar experience. But this therapeutic approach is about creating space for others to discover their own insights and solutions. Instead of assuming you know what someone needs, try approaching every conversation with genuine curiosity about their experience. This shift from knowing to wondering transforms how people respond to you and the quality of the information they share. Despite what people may think, powerful moments in therapy happen when clients feel truly understood and not necessarily when I give brilliant advice. People don't need you to fix them, they need you to see them clearly and help them access their own resources. The therapeutic mindset requires that you must be able to suspend judgment about whether someone's feelings, thoughts, or experiences are quote unquote right or wrong. Your job is to understand, not evaluate. And remember, people only open up when they feel safe from criticism, judgment, or having their feelings dismissed. Everything in this approach is designed to create and maintain such safety. The difference between helping and fixing. When someone shares a problem, our natural instinct is to jump in and save the day. But solutions mode often makes people feel unheard and can actually prevent them from processing complex emotions and finding their own unique solutions. Most people have an idea of what fixing sounds like. I'm sure we've heard all these before. You should just blah, blah, blah. Have you ever tried? Or if I were you, I would blah, blah, blah. The worst of these, of course, is, well, at least blank, blank, blank. Or the trite, everything happens for a reason. And here's what helping actually looks like: creating space for someone, helping them explore their internal resources and intuition, validating their emotions, supporting their decision making process, not yours, and being present with their struggle without trying to eliminate it. Yet 99% of people usually know what they need to do. They don't need more advice. They need someone to help them access their own clarity and confidence. The power of presence. This style of communication requires your complete attention, putting away distractions, focusing entirely on the other person, and being genuinely interested in their experience. Also, there's a difference between waiting for your turn to speak and truly listening to understand. People can feel the difference, and it dramatically affects how much they're willing to share with you. Presence versus performance. You don't need to be perfect or have all the answers. Authentic presence, being genuinely you while focusing completely on them, is more powerful than any technique or solution. Some of my most effective sessions involve very few words from me. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is offer someone your complete, non-judgmental attention. Now, let me teach you the specific techniques that therapists use to create connection and understanding. I'll show you how to adapt each one for everyday conversations without sounding clinical, weird, or fake. Technique 1. Reflective listening involves mirroring back what someone has said in a way that shows you understand both the content and emotion behind it. The basic formula goes like this. It sounds like you're feeling insert emotion about insert situation because of insert their reason. How to do this naturally. Instead of, I hear that you're angry about your boss because he gave you extra work. Try something like, wow, that sounds really frustrating. Your boss dumped all that extra work on you right before the weekend. Here's why it works. When people feel accurately understood, they naturally want to share more and go deeper. This also helps them clarify their own thoughts and feelings and get them thinking about the best ways to go forward. Common mistakes to avoid would be parroting. Don't just repeat their exact words back to them. Adding your interpretation. Stick to the facts. Or rushing to solutions. Always reflect first and ask if they want suggestions or just an ear at the moment. Advanced reflection would be like, it seems like there may be two things going on. You're frustrated about the extra work and maybe also feeling unappreciated for everything you already do. This helps people explore the layers of their experience while confirming you understand them and truly care. For instance, I spend the first 5 minutes of my mindset one-on-one coaching sessions reflecting what clients tell me. This ensures they feel heard before we do the deeper transformative work. Technique 2. Validation means communicating that someone's feelings make sense given their situation, even if you wouldn't feel the same way or agree with their perspective. The basic validation formula: of course you feel insert emotion. Anyone would feel that way if insert their situation. Here's some everyday examples. Of course you're exhausted. You've been working 60-hour weeks for months. It makes total sense that you're nervous about that presentation. It's a huge opportunity. Anyone would feel hurt if their friend canceled plans last minute. What validation isn't, it's blindly agreeing with them, propping up their feelings as the only valid response, somehow taking responsibility for how they feel, or wanting to fix or rearrange how they feel. Validation is a powerful communication tool because most people spend energy defending or justifying their feelings or point of view. When you validate them, they stop all of that and start exploring or processing things. In therapy, I found validation often creates more change than giving advice. When people feel understood, they naturally start problem solving on their own. Advanced validation sounds like this. Given everything you've been through with your family, it makes perfect sense that you'd be cautious about trusting people. That's actually a really smart, protective response. This example validates the feeling and wisdom behind it, making it so much more impactful. Technique 3. Open-ended questions, creating exploration. Closed questions get yes or no answers. Open-ended questions invite exploration and deeper sharing. Instead of saying, "Are you okay?" try, "How are you doing with everything that's been going on?" Instead of, "Did that make you angry?" or some other assumption, try saying, "What was that like for you?" Here's some examples of really great questions to ask. Some of my favorites would be, what's going through your mind? And what matters most to you in this situation? Open-ended questions show genuine interest and give people permission to share as much or as little as they want with you. They also help people explore their own thoughts and feelings. To follow up on these questions, I might ask, what else? After someone shares something important. This simple question frequently leads to more significant insights. Advanced questioning: I'm curious, when you think about the situation, what feels most important to you? You can also follow this up with, and why is that? Or a variation on that theme to go deeper if you need to, instead of using what else, which is more of a lateral question. This helps people connect with their values and priorities. Technique 4. Emotional labeling, involves identifying and naming emotions that someone might be experiencing, which helps them process and understand these feelings in a more structured way. Here's some easy ways to do that. Say things like, "It sounds like you might be feeling," fill in the blank. "I'm wondering if there's some," insert emotion there too. "That sounds," insert emotion. "Is that right?" Typical emotions you might want to listen for include your surface level emotions, like anger and frustration, deeper emotions, such as fear, hurt, shame, and then, of course, more complex emotions like being conflicted, torn, ambivalent, or numb. Many people struggle to identify emotions in the moment clearly. When you can help them name what they're feeling, it often brings relief and clarity. Often the first emotion someone expresses is surface level. Anger will often envelop deeper pain. Anxiety might be mistranslation of excitement. Frustration might mask sadness. For going deeper, try this layered approach. "It sounds like you're really angry about what happened, and I'm wondering if there might be some hurt underneath that anger as well." Exploring it like this helps people understand the complexity and depth of their emotional experience. Advanced emotional labeling might sound like this: "I'm hearing frustration about the situation, but also maybe some disappointment in yourself, and possibly some worry about what this means for the future." This acknowledges the multiple emotions that often exist simultaneously. Technique 5, summarizing. This involves pulling together the key themes, emotions, and concerns someone shared, showing that you've been listening and helping them see the bigger picture in a single frame. Here's my summary formula. So, if I'm understanding correctly, you're dealing with insert situation, feeling insert emotions, and what's most concerning to you is insert their primary worry. The best and most appropriate way to use summarizing is after someone's shared a lot of information. If they seem confused or overwhelmed, before transitioning to any collaborative problem solving or suggestions, and at the end of important conversations to maintain clarity. Here's an example summary. "Let me see if I'm understanding everything. You're feeling overwhelmed because work has been incredibly demanding. You're worried about your mom's health, and you're frustrated that you don't have time for the things that usually help you feel better. And underneath all that, it sounds like you're questioning whether you're handling everything as well as you should be." Summarizing shows that you've been truly listening and helps people feel completely heard. It also helps them organize their thoughts and see patterns they may have missed. I'll often summarize at the end of therapy sessions to help clients integrate what we've discussed and see their progress. I also do this before any pattern interrupt and installing new perspectives that work for them in my hypnotherapy sessions. Now let's get into more sophisticated techniques that can transform difficult conversations and deepen your relationships. These require a bit more work to learn, but create profound connection when used appropriately. Starting off with my favorite, Technique 6, reframing, which involves offering a different way to think about a situation that's more empowering or helpful without dismissing their original perspective. A gentle reframe might sound like this: "I can see why you think of it that way. I'm wondering if there might be another more beneficial way to look at that." Here are some examples of helpful reframe themes: from failure to learning, from weakness to strength, and from problem to opportunity. This is stuff we do inside our own heads often, but to ensure a seamless delivery, this might require a bit of practice and conversation. And of course, it's important to know when not to use a reframe. And here are some examples. Be forewarned, premature reframing can feel dismissive and damage trust. I only offer reframes after someone feels completely heard and understood. Anything before that can completely undo all the therapeutic rapport I've built. Here's an example of advanced reframing. You're calling yourself selfish for setting that boundary, but I'm wondering if someone who truly cares about their family might actually need to take care of themselves so they can be present for those they love. Moving on to Technique 7, exploring underlying needs. Most conflicts and emotional struggles are about unmet needs. Helping people identify what they really need often will resolve the surface problem. This involves an exploration process, which sounds a bit like this: "What do you think you need most right now? What would help you feel better about the situation? If this were resolved in the best possible way, what does that look like?" Here are some common underlying needs: safety and security, connection and belonging, autonomy and control, meaning and purpose, growth and learning. Let me give you an example exploration. Someone says, "My partner never helps with housework." You reply, "That sounds really frustrating. What do you think you need most in this situation?" They answer, "I need to feel like we're a team, like he cares about our home as much as I do." With that question, you're addressing the real need, feeling like a team, rather than just the surface issue of housework. When people understand their underlying needs, they become more creative about finding solutions and more effective at communicating these solutions with others. Technique 8, the therapeutic pause, creating space. This is a strategic use of silence to create space for deeper reflection, emotional processing, or insight. Here are some appropriate times to employ the pause. After something emotionally significant, when someone's processing or thinking, before offering any advice or suggestions, and when they've asked a question that requires reflection. Some of the best ways to use pauses naturally would be right after you acknowledge what they've shared. Anytime you need to create a little bit of space for them to think. And then, of course, after any gentle invitation or thoughtful question. Pauses work because most people are uncomfortable with silence and will fill it with deeper, more honest sharing. Pauses also give people time to access their emotions or insights and let realizations sink in. Some of the most profound breakthroughs in therapy happen during pauses when clients have space to connect with their inner wisdom. The final technique, Technique 9, is collaborative problem solving. Instead of giving advice, you help people discover their own solutions by asking questions that guide their thinking productively towards resolution. Here's the process. First, always make sure you fully understand the problem, using a variety of the techniques. Second, make sure you explore what they've already tried and what did or didn't work with that. Next, help them identify their inner resources. What strengths or abilities do they have that will help them with this challenge? You'll want to brainstorm with them and just kind of spitball ideas back and forth. And then finally, help them evaluate the situation and find the solution that fits their life, their values, and their needs. Here's a list of guided questions. Of course, there are many more that you can create, but the point of collaborative problem solving and what makes it more effective than advice is that when people discover their own solutions, they're more committed to following through and more confident in their ability to handle future challenges. People are experts on their own lives. My job as a therapist is to help them access that wisdom, not impose my unique or particular solutions upon them. Advanced collaboration might sound like this. You've mentioned a few different options. As you think about each one, what does your gut tell you? What feels most true to you and what you're trying to create here? This type of questioning helps people connect with their intuition and values when making decisions. Next, let's talk about how to adapt these techniques for different types of relationships and situations. The core principles of the techniques remain the same, but the delivery changes based on context and relationship dynamics, because as we all know, context is king. Starting off with romantic partners. When wanting to create emotional intimacy, use these techniques to deepen your connection and resolve conflicts without damaging your bond. During conflicts, instead of saying, "You always blank," try, "I'm feeling frustrated about insert issue and wondering if we can figure out a system that works for both of us. What's your thoughts on this?" For emotional support, when your partner is stressed, it sounds like insert issue has been really overwhelming lately. What's been the hardest part for you? Is there anything I can do to support you? Building daily connection. This is where "how was your day" can elevate to "what was the best part of your day? What was challenging?" Couples who use this style of communication report feeling more understood and connected even during disagreements. Advanced technique looks like this. "I can see this is really important to you, and I want to understand better. Help me see this from your perspective." These techniques work with children as well, but you do need to adjust your language and expectations based on their stage of development. For young children, you can say things such as, "You seem upset about something. Can you tell me what happened?" Or for very young children that are just learning to speak, remind them to use their words when they're overwhelmed with emotion. Adapting this for teenagers, "I noticed you seem stressed about something. I'm here if you want to talk." Or, "That sounds really difficult. What's been the hardest part?" Instead of immediately giving advice or consequences, use these techniques to understand the teenager's experience first. Children who feel heard and understood are more likely to come to you with problems and more receptive to guidance when you offer it. Here's an example of something to say to help build your trust with a teenager. I'm not going to try to fix this or give you advice unless you want it. I just want to understand what you're going through and be here for you. Now, when it comes to friends and family, you have to remember you're not their therapist, so you do need to balance being supportive with maintaining appropriate boundaries and supporting their own autonomy. When friends need support, you can say something like, "That sounds really tough. Do you want to talk through it? Or would you prefer we do something to take your mind off of it?" With difficult family members, use techniques to stay calm and connected, even when they're being challenging. With something like, "I can see this is really important to you. Help me understand." Setting limits can look like, "I care about you and want to support you. Right now, I'm not in a place where I can give this the attention it deserves. Can we talk about this tomorrow?" Remember that you're not responsible for fixing everyone's problems. Sometimes the most therapeutic thing you can do is listen without trying to solve it. In professional settings, these techniques can improve professional relationships and make you more effective in leadership, teamwork, and client interactions. With colleagues, try something like, "Sounds like you're dealing with a lot right now. What would be most helpful for me?" In leadership, you can try this. "I can see you're frustrated with this project. What's your perspective on what's not working?" With difficult clients or customers, "I want to make sure I understand your concerns completely. Can you help me see this from your point of view?" It's important to remember, keep the focus on work-related issues and not try to be anyone's therapist at work. Let's address the most common mistakes people make when trying to use therapeutic communication and how to avoid sounding weird, clinical, or fake. Mistake 1, sounding like a robot. Using therapeutic phrases without genuine feeling or the understanding behind them. Here's what not to do and how to sound natural, because yes, there are therapists out there that make these mistakes all the time. And this is also why not all therapy is created equal. We mentioned parroting before, mechanically repeating, as well as using specific clinical language in casual conversation. It kind of goes without saying, forcing techniques when they don't fit and sounding like you're reading from a script is not going to help you connect. The best way to sound natural is to be relaxed and let yourself shine through. Curiosity and meeting them where they are goes a long way. I've observed that new therapists often sound robotic until they learn to integrate these techniques, and the same applies to us in everyday use. Mistake 2, trying to fix everything. And this is when using therapeutic techniques to solve everyone's problems or make them feel better can backfire. Here's what this looks like. Constantly going into therapist mode as soon as someone mentions a problem. Feeling responsible for other people's emotional states. Getting frustrated if people don't take your advice. Exhausting yourself by trying to be everybody's unpaid therapist. Again, the ethical and healthy approach to this is always to ask before offering any information. Respect their healing process or their growing process. Maintain safe boundaries. And also know your limits as a friend, a colleague, or someone that just genuinely cares about people. And if they need professional help, be honest about that. Even as a professional therapist, I don't try to therapize my friends and family. Sometimes people just want normal conversation and connection. And knowing when to do that is definitely a nuance that will come with time as you learn these skills. Mistake 3, using techniques manipulatively. Using this style of communication to get what you want, rather than genuinely understand and support other people, can be easily detected and will ruin your life faster than you can imagine. Here's some red flags to look out for. Using validation to get someone to do what you want, reflecting your feelings to make someone feel guilty about something they've done or said, asking leading questions just to get someone to do something you want them to do, and then using emotional labeling to control someone's response. The ethical approach, of course, is always come from a place of genuine intention. Always respect their autonomy. Be completely transparent and honest about what your intentions are for the conversation. And then mutual benefit. It's always great to have a conversation, especially conflict resolution, where everyone wins. If you're using these techniques to get something from someone rather than to give them understanding and support, just know you're moving into dangerously manipulative territory. If you're not sure, ask yourself, am I using this technique to help them or proposing a win-win solution at the very least, rather than to just get what I want? If it's the latter, step back and reconsider your approach. Here's some guidance on how to really absorb these skills. This will help you develop them naturally and effectively so they become part of your authentic communication style. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but for those that want that extra training, definitely pause here and take a few notes. And always remember, don't try to use these techniques all at once. Get comfortable with one at a time until it kind of becomes natural. Then add the next technique. Here are some daily practice opportunities for you. I've got them divided into low stakes and higher stakes. And also, while you're practicing, here's some self-reflection questions to consider. How do the other people respond to the communication style? Did they seem to feel heard and understood? Which technique felt most natural to you? And then always try to take note of where you can improve next time. Even after over a decade of utilizing a lot of this communication, I'm still refining the skills daily. The goal isn't perfection, it's continuous improvement and creating connection and understanding. If you made it this far, congratulations. You now have the core therapeutic communication techniques that can transform your relationships and make you someone people naturally want to talk to and confide in. When you use them with genuine care and curiosity, they create the kind of quality conversations that enrich everyone involved. The most important thing to remember is that therapeutic communication is about being genuinely interested in other people's experiences and helping them feel valued and understood. The techniques are just tools to express that genuine care more fluidly. Start small, practice consistently, and be patient with yourself as you develop these skills. Like any new ability, they'll feel awkward at first, but with practice, they'll become a natural part of how you connect with others. You don't need to be a therapist to use these techniques effectively. You just need to be someone who cares about creating deeper, more meaningful connections with the people in your life. The world needs more people who know how to listen deeply, validate authentically, and create more space for others to be their true selves. By developing these skills, you're not just improving your own relationships, you're contributing to a more understanding and connected world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing and hit the like button. Share any of your stories practicing these techniques in the comments below or any questions you might have for me. Until next time.